Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So today, finally got around to seeing a fairly newer movie, finally. Still been out for a little bit, but closer to the ending goal of getting caught up on movies. And today I saw the BFG. What did I think of the BFG? Thought it was kind of long. And it's actually not that long of a film. I think it's actually under 2 hours. But it just seemed like a lot of nothing happened throughout the movie. And I know it's based on a kid's book. I never read the kid's book. But the story, at least in this film adaptation, just seemed very uneventful. So we start out with this girl named Sophie, who lives in an orphanage. Unlike the other children in the orphanage, who you never see other than a couple of them sleeping in bed, Sophie suffers from insomnia. So when everyone else is asleep, she kind of gets up and quietly wanders around the house. The good thing about this is the woman in charge of the orphanage is kind of absent-minded and forgetful about things, and Sophie just kind of follows her around and cleans up things that she was supposed to do that she kind of forgets, like locking the doors at night. Like they show her go to lock the doors, and then there's a big pile of mail on the ground that no one's picked up in days. And right when she's getting ready to lock the door, she looks down, sees a magazine, picks up the magazine, starts reading, and walks away. So Sophie goes and locks the doors, picks up all the mail, goes and sorts the mail, blah, blah, blah. And then she just kind of goes back up to her room, and she's just kind of sitting there reading a book. The lady of the house comes in to check on everyone, so she quickly kind of hides under the covers and turns the light off to make it look like she's sleeping. And then the lady leaves, and then you hear a noise outside. So she gets up and goes to the window, and it's some guys outside that are drunk and yelling. So she kind of yells down at them to be quiet. There's children sleeping. They're kind of like, "Oh, piss off, little girl." And she's like, "Don't you little girl me," and kind of acts like an adult. So they kind of take off, and Sophie goes back to sleep, and then she hears another noise. So she gets up and goes back to the window, and she looks out, and it's cats kind of jumping on a trash can, knocking it over. And as she's sitting there watching the cats run off, this giant hand comes down, picks up the trash can, sets it down, and Sophie kind of freezes, staring at whatever's going on. Then you see this head peek around the corner and these eyes, and once they notice that they've been seen, they start charging towards her. So she goes and dives back into bed, pulls the covers up over her head, and is trying to hide, and the giant reaches in, grabs the child, and runs off back to Giant World, or Giant Country, I think it's called in the book. So then she's like, "Why did you take me?" He's like, "Well, you saw me, and I can't have you run around telling everyone that I exist." So she's like, "Well, I won't tell anyone." He goes, "Yeah, but I can't be sure of that, so you're going to have to stay with me forever." So at first she's kind of hesitant. She's like, "No, I don't want to stay. I want to go home." Eventually they kind of become friends, so she's a little bit more willing to stay because, she's an orphan, so what does it really matter anyway? Then you find out that there's other giants in Giant Country, and this giant is actually the runt of the litter. All the other ones are like 10 times his size. And these giants, for some reason, now eat people. He actually mentioned that they didn't used to eat people. They just recently started it, like a few hundred years ago. And no one's really sure why. I don't know if it's explained in the book, but they don't say in the movie. So then he's trying to hide Sophie from these other giants so that she doesn't get eaten. He takes her with him when he goes to do his work, which is he captures dreams, which are basically like little tree sprites or elves or whatever. Kind of like Tinkerbells, pixies, whatever you want to call them. So he catches these dreams, and then he kind of goes around the human world, and he mixes the dreams to where people can have nice dreams. And then he goes around and kind of blows them through this magic horn thing to go into different people's houses so they have dreams. So he's kind of the Sandman, I guess, sort of. So he takes her with her to do that, and then he goes back home, and then as the story progresses, the other giants kind of find out she's there and are searching for her. She finds out that the big friendly giant had another human companion for a while, but the giants found him and ate him. Spoiler, by the way, in case you haven't read the book. That's like probably 100 years old. I don't know when the book was written. But she finds out there was another boy, so she understands why the BFG's kind of hesitant to let her go, but then why keep her there if she's in danger. So then the BFG takes her home, and she doesn't want to be home. She wants to be back with him, even though earlier she wanted nothing but to go home. So then they decide they're going to fight the other giants. And to do this, they enlist the help of the Queen of England. I'm not even kidding. They get the Queen of England to believe that there are giants coming and eating children that they're stealing from orphanages. Yeah, they're stealing other children from orphanages. I guess at night, while the BFG's going around creating dreams, they're going around to orphanages and stealing people. And, like, they don't show this throughout the movie. They just show him as being the only one that ever comes to the human world and, like, taking anyone. But apparently, like, children have been disappearing from orphanages all over town. And this is why? This is the first time they mention it through the movie. So the Queen actually believes everything and mobilizes the British Army amongst other armies of the world. At one point she calls and talks to Nancy Reagan and asks if Ron's up, and if not, to get him out of bed. So she mobilizes all these armies to go to Giant Country and basically kidnap the giants and dump them in the middle of the ocean on an island somewhere. And yeah, I understand it's a book for kids. It doesn't have to make sense. But like I said, this whole movie is just a lot of nothing going on. And if you don't believe me, there's probably a good 30 minutes of this movie that is when they're talking to the Queen. The Queen goes, oh, well, if we're going to discuss this, let's do it properly. So they go to the giant ballroom, which is the only room in the entire Buckingham Palace, I guess, that the giant can fit into and stand up properly. They have this huge table built. They have him sitting on the top of a piano. And they serve him food and everything. And it's just like a 30-minute scene of them having a proper British dinner and not even talking about anything other than, like, fart jokes. They have the Queen of England fart in front of everyone. So does everyone else in the room, but at the same time, this goes on for 30 minutes. So then, anyway, yeah, they go fight the giants. They drop all the giants off on this deserted island. They don't say where because we're never supposed to know. And the BFG is known to humanity now, or at least to some members of the military, I guess. So he still goes and finishes his work, you know, still giving people good dreams and whatnot, while all the other giants are exiled on this island. And that's kind of it. Sophie goes back to the human world, where she now lives in Buckingham Palace instead of the orphanage. And she never says that the giant returned, but she says that, you know, he can always hear, like, even if you whisper something to him, regardless of where he's at, he can hear it. So that's kind of the end of the movie. What did I think about it overall? I don't know what else to say other than a lot of nothing goes on in this movie. What would I give it as far as a star rating? I don't know, maybe, like, I hate to say this because it's a kid's movie. It's been around forever. It's probably more enjoyable as a book, but in this version of the film, actually there's an older version of this film I should check out and see how it compares. But this version of the film, it's just a lot of nothing going on. So for that, I'm sorry, but I have to give this film a 2. I like it better than Ninja Turtles, I'll give it that. Ninja Turtles just pissed me off to no end. But, actually I should say Ninja Turtles 2 pissed me off to no end. Not even Secret of the Ooze, I'm talking about Out of the Shadow, that was garbage. In case you couldn't tell by my half-hour rant from the other day. But yeah, I like this one better than that. That's most I can give it, so since I gave that a 1.5, I'll bump this one up to a 2. But it is seriously almost 2 hours of not a lot going on. 30-minute fart joke with the Queen having dinner. I don't know what else to say. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links to social networks are down there in the description. And until next time, we will see you after the credits.